All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're not live. That's usually what they say, but we're definitely not live. Um, but I'm gonna jump straight into it because I do not like YouTube to take super forever to get into the fucking subject. So the subject at hand is going to be about, of course, Jacob Blake and Kyle Rittenhouse. Okay, now pardon me because I am smoking, but in my state, marijuana is legal. And well, you can just smoke. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. Uh, so if you see me taking puffs from time to time, just know that it is legal in the state of Illinois, and I'm just practicing that. Also, um, yeah, just here we go. So Jacob Blake. If you're not familiar with the story, which you must be living under a rock if you're not, essentially, you have a man in Kenosha, Wisconsin, who was essentially shot 7 times in the back by police, and he did not die, but he definitely is in the ICU, and there's a lot to unpack with the nuances of what happened. So that's what we're about to do. Now, the police were called because there was a domestic disturbance. Now, initially, people thought that the domestic disturbance was between two females, but it's come out that not only was it between two females, but they also knew that Jacob Blake was on the scene, and the police have a history of, you know, just encounters with him. So, because we now know that that's a factor. It factors in. Um, there also were, you know, some you know whispers or murmurs of him having a weapon on him. Uh, in the video, some people said it was in his left hand, but there's no real evidence of it other than it being in his vehicle. So there's a conflicting story when it comes to that because a weapon was retrieved from his vehicle, the driver's side, but that's not to say that it was in his hand at all. Um, and him having it in his car is not really, in my opinion, uh, or even by the law of Kenosha, I don't think it's against the law for him to have it in his car. I don't know the size or the standard of knives that they allow, but it seems like it would be something that they allow. Anyway, getting into him though, and some of the nuances, right? So you have a man who was shot 7 times in the back because when the police got there, they said that they tried to subdue him, but he refused and walked to his car. Upon getting into his car, the police shot him 7 times in his back because here's the thing. They have to perceive him as a threat at this point because one, driving a car can be perceived as a threat as far as being able to run people over and shit like that. Also, you could be reaching for a weapon. I understand this, but here's the problem with this thinking. The police know that these are standard practices. They know that this is protocol to essentially air a motherfucker out if they get in their car. They know that this is protocol, but that doesn't mean that Jacob Blake does. Doesn't mean that he studied protocol. Okay, so when you're driving a car, right? One of the things that I do when I'm driving a car is I treat everyone in their cars like they're dummies, like they don't know how to drive. And when you come into it with the expectation that you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of dumbass drivers, you become a better driver because you are hyper vigilant almost, right? But in a good way, in the sense that you know that this person's a clutch, so you're going to kind of know that, or expect them to do something stupid, so you'll be on the lookout for it. Now, you probably wonder how this correlates with Jacob Blake and the police. If you're a police officer and you know that if this person gets to this car, Why wouldn't you stop them before they got to the car? I mean, think about that. Why wouldn't you stop them before they got to the car? And look, I'm not putting it back on the police. Like, I know there's going to be people like, oh, there he goes. Look, the job of a police officer, okay, is stressful. I know this. But I'm sorry, they have to be held to a higher standard, okay? And when we get oopsies, we can't just throw it back on the citizens, all right? Okay? Look, here is why Superman, right, is able to do what he's able to do. And the government isn't trying to fuck him up, right, in the comic books. It's because he holds himself at a higher standard. Can you imagine someone with the power to fucking laser beam somebody off the planet with their eyes, and this person doesn't do it? That's standards and morals, and he's practicing those standards and morals, right? So when you think about a police officer, we gotta hold them to a higher standard. They've got the power of life and death in their hands, and we've given it to them. We've given them a utility belt full of those powers, which brings me to my next point. Why did you not use a baton on him? Come on, man. Why didn't you use a baton? Huh? It was two of you coming for him, and the other people that were at the scene that were deemed maybe criminals or unsavories, they were being detained by other officers. It was two of you coming. First of all, why didn't you flank them on both sides? You take this way, I take that way. And I can give it to you. Maybe this was a cop that you had never worked with before, and y'all don't know how to do that type of shit. But why didn't y'all work a flank? Come on. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but think about that. Another thing is mace. I've seen motherfuckers get maced in Walmart for talking too loudly. Okay? You couldn't have used mace in this incident? Man, tasers. Okay, you hit them once and maybe it didn't work. It was four of y'all. Hit them again. Hit them again. But you chose a fucking gun. You chose to shoot a man 7 times in the back. Yeah, he didn't die. But 7 times in the back? Come on, bro. That's worse than whips and lashings, bro. That's crazy. I don't really have too much more to say about the Jacob, the Blake Jacob, or the Jacob Blake situation. Right? But let's get on to Kyle Rittenhouse. Now, Kyle Rittenhouse is a 17-year-old Caucasian kid from, I couldn't pinpoint what what city in Illinois he's from, but it's like one that's just outside of Chicago, just outside of uh, Kenosha. Okay, it's only 15 miles from Kenosha. Now, 17-year-old kid. Now, I'm from Illinois, so I know that in Illinois, to hold a long gun, to own one, and to be able to legally walk about with one, you have to be 18 years old, right? So you're probably saying, well, it was in Wisconsin, so that doesn't really matter what is Wisconsin law. But here's why this law matters too. This law matters because where did he get the long gun? He's not 18. He's not old enough to have one. So how does he have a long gun from the state of Illinois? Now let's get into Wisconsin's laws. Wisconsin laws dictate that you have to be 18 in order to own a long gun. Now, if you're wondering why I'm saying long gun instead of gun, period, it's because 21 is the legal age for a handgun in Illinois. I'm not sure if it's the same for Kenosha or Wisconsin, but I would assume so. But I know for sure that it's 18 for a long gun in Wisconsin and in Illinois. This kid's 17. How did he have a gun? I just wanted to drive that point home, but now let's move on. All right, so why would you go to a protest to back up police? What is that? Why would you go? Like, the police are the police, bro. Do you understand what I'm saying here? The police are the police. No. You earned that, bro. Those guys earned that. I'm not talking about the protest or riot. I'm talking about their jobs. They are police officers. They took an oath and everything. You didn't do that. I mean, maybe to the Constitution of the United States of America, but haven't we all? Just in our birth? Come on, bro. You were there for no reason because you wasn't there to protest, and the police don't need you because the police are the fucking police. So you were there for no reason. Excuse my French, but I'm getting kind of heated and I'm kind of hot. All right. So now that we got that out the way that he didn't need to be there, let's move on. All right. You shot 3 people because you said they were agitators. First of all, you are the dude who doesn't have the fucking right to carry that firearm, and you're there to basically cause trouble because the police nor need you and the protesters nor want you, so you are just there. You are just there. And then you chose to be there with a cause that was fucking a wild card. What the fuck was that? You shot 3 people, dude. And then you did it in the name of the police who don't need you. They do not need you. Literally have been trained, albeit in some aspects trained poorly. But I'm telling you, when it comes to tacticians, they got this, bro. They got it. They didn't need you. They did not need you. You killed 3 people. Now here's the kicker, okay? You then proceeded to put your hands up and walk, okay? You had an AR-15 strapped to your chest and you walked through a mob of people. The police didn't even perceive you as a threat. How you doing, buddy? And they drove past you. Meanwhile, a black man who's attempting to get in his car, we can assume that he has a knife just because they said it. That would just be an assumption, but we didn't see any evidence of that. But anyway, he's trying to get in his car. Even if they was telling the truth, he tried to get in it with a knife. Not a fucking 30-round magazine, AR-15, that has just shot 3 people and killed 2 of them. And somehow, he gets 7 bullets in the back. Huh. Meanwhile, the 17-year-old kid, who looks about 6'3", cornbread fed, is walking past the police with an AR-15 strapped to his chest. How much sense that makes to y'all? Come on, man. If you can't see that racism and profiling does not fit this correlation, then something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. And you know what it is? Willful ignorance. Yeah, I learned that one. Willful ignorance is the thing. It's when you see it, process it, but it's not what you want it to be, so you shut it down. That's what narcissists do. Anyway, this video's gotten kind of long, and the sounds are starting to drown. So, we are going to cut it short. You guys have a good night.